Hi, everybody. I hope that you are having a wonderful week and kind of getting back into the groove of this year and your work week. I know I really enjoyed having some time off, but I'm also kind of excited to be back in work, back in a schedule. My older kid went to school for the first time today, like real school. So that is a lot to celebrate. As you know, we talked earlier, I guess it was last week, about capacity and how much capacity you have. And that's something that I have really been thinking about. And in this cycle of my business, with the way that life is, I mean, I think capacity is always important, but especially when we talk about growth. So, if you haven't already thought about this, what is your capacity for the year? How much time do you really have? Because what we don't want to do is put all of our time, our focus, our energy, our strategy into growing a business and having lots of clients when we actually don't have time. We don't have the capacity for those clients. So, that was one of the key things that we were talking about last week in preparation for our CEO workshop tomorrow, where we're going to plan out our 2021. And just to give you kind of an idea of what this is going to be about, I am have a different approach when it comes to planning, and I think especially this year, so especially for 2021, it's not about having a hardcore this is what it's going to look like. It's about building in flexibility, building in some flexibility around the capacity that we have, and being really discerning about how we're going to grow our business, what that's going to look like, and less about let's just pick a really big number goal of how much money we want to make, because each and every one of you in this group can do the math. You can do the math. So while that's helpful, that is not the end all be all of how to plan your business. So the way I plan my business, I feel like it works really well for me, and I'm going to share that all with you tomorrow. So speaking of business and planning and growing and how we do that, I thought that with so many new people, so not just new people, but new business owners in this group that I'm noticing, I know that all of you know that when you come into the group, I ask you a few questions. I feel like that really helps me because I want to build a relationship with you. I want to make sure that I'm showing up and serving you. This group is where I'm getting my clients from, is where I've decided I want to show up. It's my focus. And so it's really important for me to make sure that I'm serving you. And with so many new people, what I wanted to talk about today was business cycles. So, a little bit about me is that I was an art director at a Fortune 100 company, and it was a great job, but I got tired of it, right? You can guess kind of the usual reasons. I wanted to branch out and do my own thing. So I started an Etsy store. It was kind of like my first segue into it, of me figuring out what do I want to do. I was so burned out. I thought, I don't think I want to do design anymore, like not in this capacity, not graphic design, not art direction. Like I just didn't really know what I wanted to do. I don't know if any of you have ever felt that way. If you have, drop me a one and let me know that you felt that way before, where you were burned out and you thought, what do I do next? So I went back to things that I loved and things that made me really happy, which was making stuff with my hands, so to speak, even though it ended up being paintings and graphic designs. It's still design, but in a different way, and started an Etsy store. Then I started getting more clients. So I put my focus into, instead of having like a client here or there that kind of fell on my lap, really getting clients for branding and web design. And that's how I built my first studio. So this is what made me actually leave my job. So I had an Etsy store that was doing really well, and I got some really great commissions to have some work in some hotels and things like that, which was really exciting. And then I decided that I really did want to build up this design studio, do things my way, because I really loved working with people. So that's exactly what I did, and actually closed the Etsy store and put all of my focus. You guys know I like to simplify things and talk about that a lot. Put all of my focus into a design studio with branding and web design. Found that the people portion that I love so much really ended up meaning that I was coaching. I was telling people how to market their business. I was taking all of these skills and things that I did working as an art director and formatting that for solopreneurs, and also, of course, the things that I learned, right? So about 3 years into it, I ended up doing a lot of coaching and eventually transitioned over into coaching and marketing strategy full time, which I love. And, it was a whole process of me getting from one place to the other. I never even would have thought that was a possibility of being a business coach. And honestly, when I started my business 6 years ago, I didn't even know that you could hire a business coach. I thought that was something like just corporations, consultants come in, they look at everything. I'd actually worked with some of those people inside of my full-time job, so didn't even know that was a thing. So I just share all of that to reiterate the point that entrepreneurship's not linear. And that's why I love talking about that on my podcast, the Be Heard podcast, because there are so many ups and downs. And if we get into a place where we think, well, I start this job, I work here till I die, which I don't think many people really think anymore, or I started a business doing this one thing and we are so committed to that one thing, even when it's not working, we run into a lot of problems because that's the issue. The anxiety comes in the resistance to the thing that's happening that we already know when we're not actually accepting that. So, being open to changes and what that might look like, and what kind of opportunities are there, and what kind of collaborations are there, really allow us to go through cycles of business. So, let's talk about what those are. So, I have noticed in building these three businesses and in helping so many other entrepreneurs build businesses too, that these three distinct cycles really stand out for me. The first one is when you are starting your business, and this one always reminds me of the page card or the fool's card and tarot for all of my spiritual people out here that love that kind of thing too, where it's this energy of like excitement, anything can happen. We are on the peak of creativity where you're just getting all kinds of ideas. You're probably downloading a lot of information. You are getting a lot of information from other sources, and you're just trying to kind of figure things out, but it's exciting. And then there comes a point in that where you realize, like, oh, this is a real thing. I actually have to put myself out there. I have to market my business. Maybe you get on the phone with people and they say no. And so this is where that personal growth piece really shows up a lot, because you have to decide that what you want is bigger than your fear. You have to decide to let go of how attached you are to getting a no. Um, these beliefs about, well, maybe people don't like me, nobody likes my voice, how can I be on Instagram? Like people, taking everything so personally, and instead of approaching it like, this is my first year in business. I am gathering data to see what works, what doesn't work. What do I like? Maybe I don't like Instagram. Maybe I like Facebook. Maybe I hate Facebook and I love TikTok. Like, you really want to experiment and see without being so attached to it that you're either not showing up and trying things, or, you're trying everything and you're just basically throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what fits, because while that can get you to your next phase of business where you are figuring out, so this is like cycle 2, you've figured out what works, you've gotten some information, you can kind of niche in your services, niche in who you decide that your ideal client is. You're not going to get there, because that's where you really start getting dependable results, is in cycle 2. You're not going to get to cycle 2 if you get stuck in cycle 1. So cycle 1 is like puberty. We all have to get through it. It can often be awkward and uncomfortable, right? But you have to go through it. So being in cycle 1, it can get really frustrating if you get stuck there. If you're so afraid, if you have really built in this belief that whatever you're doing is not working, if you are thinking, okay, well, this doesn't work, and instead of me investigating that and trying to figure out, how to make it work, we're like, forget it, we just start a whole new marketing strategy. If you get stuck in that, it is impossible to move on to cycle 2. So in cycle 1, it's very fun, it's creative, it's exciting. It can also be extremely frustrating when you try new things if you're not getting data and figuring out how to go deeper, how to get more information so that you can move in cycle 2. All right, so cycle 2 is pretty great, because while you can have results in cycle 1, it's not consistent, it's not dependable. Cycle 2 is where you're like, you know what, I know exactly how I serve people. I can confidently stand up and tell you who I am, what I do, who I do it for, and why it matters. Because if your clients don't understand, first of all, the problem that you solve, and second, why it matters so much, why they have to hire you, why they have to work with you, then they're not going to. So again, you're still in cycle 1 if you don't feel that way, because you're getting some results, but not dependable results. Dependable results are when you know exactly how to get your next client. And that feels freaking good, because then you've created a baseline. So once you have that kind of consistent results where you know exactly how to market your business, you know how to talk about it, what to say, you know where to get your next client, then you move into cycle 3. And that's where you really can grow and scale because you have so much information and you have proven marketing results that it's like, oh, well, what could I do now? How could I change this to make it work even better? Maybe I could make this change and work less hours. Maybe I want to grow a team. Maybe I want to start a group program. You have all these different options. So those are the 3 cycles that I have really seen business owners go through. Now, I know the big question is, well, how do I get to cycle 2? And how do I get to cycle 3? Like, nobody wants to be stuck in cycle 1. And I know how hard that can be. So I actually have a client who was stuck in cycle 1 for, I think she said about 7 or 8 years. And on our first call together, our first coaching call, she said, Jenna, if you can help me, you can help anybody. And she really had to spend a lot of time going back through her cycle to figure out what was going to work. Where do I want to focus? Who's my ideal client? And what is the best way that I can serve them? And most importantly, how do I build up confidence? Because she had a lot of stories. You know, it was like a traumatic experience to try to build a business and pour your heart and soul in it for 8 years and not feel like you ever got financial success. It's traumatic. And so we really had to focus on building confidence and really creating a strategy that was going to build confidence and go through those steps as quickly as possible. So those are the 3 cycles: that beginning phase where you're trying everything, trying to see what works; the second phase where you've built a lot of confidence, you know who you're serving, you know how you're doing it; and then that third phase where you take the stability of cycle 2 and you blow it up and scale. So every person goes through those phases, but how long you stay in each one of those phases is totally up to you. I know that sounds crappy because you're thinking, well, I could just say, let's go to 2, let's go to 2, right? Let's go to 3, Shanna. Nobody wants to just do that, right? But it's hard. Just like the client I was telling you about. I mean, she had a lot of stuff. She needed support. She needed someone to let her borrow their confidence. She needed an outside view of her business to say, like, these are the things that are really sticking out to me, because you guys know how it is. Usually the things that you're amazing at, you think, this is so easy. Everybody knows how to do this. So the thing that you're like looking for, the thing, or what's your thing, you're always already doing it. It just feels too easy, right? We feel like, oh, it's got to be harder than that, right? It's got to be harder if somebody's going to pay for this because it's so easy for me, even though it's not true. So you need that outside perspective, that outside person. So it's really a combination of having the support, creating a strategy for this client, creating a strategy to really help her build confidence, and helping her figure out what that business model was, and then working on how to create copy, because creating copy and content is really important. I don't mean everybody needs to be a copywriter, but you gotta know how to talk about your business. So if you are listening to this and you are in step 1, I would love to get some feedback from you. I'm going to put a link in the comments, because with so many new people, and also complete transparency, thinking about how much capacity I have this year and how I want to grow my business, I would really love to create a program that is specific for you. So if you're in that first phase, that first cycle, and you're ready to move on to 2, you're ready for consistent income, you're ready to feel confident, know how to talk about your business, you're ready for that, so that you can hit cycle 3 and grow and scale and hit those really big crazy goals, right? But you got to hit the first ones first. You got to hit a 5K month before you can hit a 10K month. But how fast that happens is totally up to you, and it really is about getting the right support. So if you are in cycle 1 and you want to move to cycle 2, I'm going to drop a link below for you to answer just a few short questions if you're interested in co-creating a program that's perfect for you. It's going to meet your capacity. It's going to be the right amount of support, because I don't believe in overloading people with a bunch of stuff that they can't handle, right? I don't like that either. So co-create a program together at the right amount of support. We're talking about time commitment, capacity for sessions, the whole thing. So if you're interested in that and you're in cycle 2, I'm in cycle 1, you want to go to cycle 2, I'd love for you to click that link and give me some feedback. Let me know, like, what is it that you really feel like you need this year? And if you are in cycle 2 and you're ready to get into cycle 3, or you're like starting cycle 2 and you just want to get to 3 faster, I'd love to work with you one-on-one. So I'll also add a link where you can see what my coaching looks like. So I am here for you to make sure that 2021 is the best that it can be for you. And I truly believe that it's all about getting the right support. I was interviewed for a podcast last week, and she said, what would you have given yourself as far as advice goes if you could go back? I was like 1,000%. Even though I didn't know they existed, I would hire a coach because you've got to have support. I mean, you can stay in a cycle that you don't want to be in if you want to. Nobody's pressuring you. But if you don't want to, if you want to have more ease in your business, if you want to be able to grow in a way that feels good, then I would love to help you do that. So check out those 2 links if you are interested in what it would be like to work with a coach. You can get a free consultation. Or if you are interested in this group program, because you're going to get a beta tester price, which means cheap, right? It means cheap. So as a person that is coming in, being a co-creator, and testing this out with me, you'll get a really nice price, a very budget-friendly price, which, I mean, everybody likes that, right? So check your notifications. You'll be getting a notice from me about our CEO Day workshop tomorrow, and you guys think about your capacity and how that plays into what you really want for 2021.